I caught our HOA Karen measuring my grass before sunrise. By sunset, she was explaining to the police why she had photos of everyone's houses on her phone. The story is wild. Alright guys, before I tell you about the craziest HOA drama ever, let me introduce you to Linda, our neighborhood's self-appointed grass patrol. For the past 3 years, she's been on the HOA board's maintenance committee, but she took this volunteer position way too seriously. You know those people who make a hobby their entire personality? Well, Linda made other people's grass hide her whole identity. She'd walk around with a literal binder of grass photos and measurements. At first, we all thought it was just a weird quirk. You know, everyone's got that one strange neighbor, right? Our neighborhood, Meadowbrook Estates, has pretty standard rules. Grass shouldn't be over 4 inches tall. Simple enough. But Linda? She turned it into some kind of twisted science. She'd give out violation notices for grass being 4.1 inches tall. Not even kidding. Last month alone, she issued 12 violations because people's grass was apparently 1 millimeter too tall. But nobody knew just how deep this obsession went until last week, when I happened to wake up early for a work meeting. So there I was last Tuesday, 6 a.m., making my coffee before an early Zoom meeting. It was still dark outside. You know that weird blue morning light when the sun hasn't quite come up yet? That's when I saw something moving on my front lawn. At first, I thought it was maybe a deer or something. But no, it was Linda in her full HOA glory, crawling across my grass with a ruler and her phone's flashlight. She was wearing these ridiculous camo print gardening pants, like she was on some kind of grass measuring stealth mission. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This woman was literally army crawling across my wet morning grass, stopping every few feet to measure and take photos. She had her infamous violation notebook with her, and guys, she was writing while lying flat on her stomach. That's when my Ring doorbell started sending notifications like crazy. Turns out, Linda had already been there for 20 minutes, circling my entire yard. The footage showed her measuring the same spots multiple times, like she was trying to find even one blade of grass that was too tall. I did what any normal person would do, grabbed my phone and started recording. But the moment Linda saw my porch light turn on and me standing there with my phone, oh boy, that's when this early morning grass inspection turned into something straight out of a neighborhood nightmare. The moment Linda realized I was recording her, she completely lost it. She jumped up from her grass crawling position so fast, you'd think the sprinklers had turned on. "Stop recording me right now," she screamed, still holding her ruler like some kind of weapon. "This is official HOA business. You have no right to film me." Mind you, this is all happening on my front lawn at 6 a.m., while she's literally trespassing. I stayed super calm and just kept recording. "Linda, you're on my private property before sunrise, crawling around my lawn. Care to explain why?" That's when she went into full Karen mode. She started waving her violation notebook around like it was a federal badge. "I have photographic evidence that your grass has been 4.3 inches tall for 3 consecutive days. This is a direct violation of HOA Code 7.2 Paragraph 3, subsection B." But here's where it gets good. While she's having this meltdown, my next-door neighbor Sarah came out the moment Linda saw another witness with a phone. She pulled out her phone and, you guessed it, called 911. You guys won't believe what she told them. "Yes, I'm at 847 Meadowbrook Drive. I'm being harassed and intimidated while performing official HOA duties. They're filming me without consent. Send police immediately." By this point, more neighbors were coming out with their phones, and Linda was getting more hysterical by the minute. She started threatening everyone. "I have documentation on all of you. Every blade of grass, every weed, every leaf in your yards. You'll all be getting violations." 2 police cars pulled up, lights flashing, probably expecting some kind of major confrontation based on Linda's 911 call. By this time, our quiet little cul-de-sac looked like a neighborhood block party, except everyone was in their pajamas. Officer Martinez and Officer Thompson approached, looking confused at the scene. A woman clutching a ruler and notebook, surrounded by neighbors with phones, all before sunrise. Linda rushed to them first, practically tripping over herself. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. I'm Linda Matthews, HOA Maintenance Committee Lead. These people are harassing me while I perform my duties. And they're filming without my consent." Officer Martinez, bless her heart, kept a completely straight face. "Ma'am, can you explain what HOA duties require you to be on private property at 6 a.m.? That's when Linda made her big mistake. She pulled out her phone to show the officers her evidence. And guys, this is where everything unraveled. As she's scrolling through her photos to find my grass violations, The officers noticed something disturbing. "Ma'am," Officer Thompson said, "are those surveillance photos of neighborhood houses? With timestamps from 5 a.m., 4 a.m., 2 a.m.? Linda's face went white. She tried to grab her phone back, but it was too late. The officers had seen hundreds, and I mean hundreds of photos. Not just grass measurements, but pictures through windows into backyards, photos of people's cars, their visitors, their children playing. Remember all those official documents in her notebook? Turns out she had detailed logs of everyone's comings and goings. When my kids left for school, when Sarah got home from work, when the Johnsons' teenagers had friends over. Guys, what the police found on Linda's phone made her grass measuring seem totally normal in comparison. This wasn't just about lawns, she had created an entire secret surveillance operation of our neighborhood. While Officer Martinez was talking to her, Officer Thompson started scrolling through her phone. His face just kept getting more and more concerned. What? Because Linda had over 15,000 photos of neighbors' houses. A detailed spreadsheet tracking everyone's daily routines. Folders labeled with each house number. 3 years' worth of data on every single family. But here's the craziest part. They found a secret Facebook group she ran called HOA Violations Exposed. She was posting photos of our houses, our kids, our visitors, everything. The group had over 2,000 members from different HOAs across the state. They were all sharing surveillance tips and comparing notes on how to catch violations. The real bombshell dropped when they opened her Notes app. Linda had written detailed profiles on every family in our neighborhood. 847 Meadowbrook, kids leave at 7:15 a.m. Parents fight about lawn care. Good targeting potential. 851 Meadowbrook, works night shift. Best time for inspection 2 to 4 a.m. 853 Meadowbrook, new marriage problems. Lawn maintenance declining. Officer Thompson actually had to call in a detective because this went way beyond simple HOA issues. This was full-on stalking. And remember those 12 violations she gave out last month? The police found drafts of blackmail letters. She was threatening to expose people's personal problems if they didn't pay their fines immediately. Oh boy, did karma hit Linda hard and fast. While the officers were still there, they actually had to call in the department's cyber crimes unit. Turns out, secretly photographing people's kids and logging their daily routines? Yeah, that's not covered under HOA duties. The immediate consequences came rolling in like dominoes. Her phone was confiscated as evidence. The police issued an emergency restraining order. She couldn't come within 100 feet of any house in our neighborhood. That secret Facebook group? Shut down. And her precious violation notebook? Bagged as evidence. But guys, the HOA board's response was even better. They called an emergency meeting right there that afternoon. Linda showed up thinking she could explain everything. Instead, they had her escorted out by security. Then one by one they went through every single violation she'd ever issued. All violations were immediately canceled. Every fine was refunded. Her maintenance committee was completely dissolved. The best part? Remember Sarah, my neighbor who came out recording that morning? Turns out she's a cybersecurity lawyer. She helped the board draft new privacy policies that were absolutely brutal. No photographs of private property without written consent. No inspections before 9 a.m. or after 6 p.m. All violations must be reviewed by 3 board members. Zero tolerance for personal surveillance. By sunset, Linda had been removed from the HOA board. Banned from ever holding any HOA position. Reported to the state HOA Oversight Committee. And get this, the police actually recommended she seek professional help. So guys, life in our neighborhood has completely changed since that crazy morning. You know what's funny? Everyone's grass is still perfectly maintained. Turns out people will naturally take care of their property when they're not being stalked and harassed. Linda? She put her house up for sale the next week. The for sale sign went up faster than her ruler could measure grass. Last we heard, she moved to some condo complex with artificial turf. Probably for the best. But the real change has been in our community. That morning of Linda's grass measuring meltdown actually brought us all together. We started a neighborhood group chat, not for reporting violations but for helping each other out. Someone's out of town? We'll mow their lawn. Someone's sick? We've got their yard covered. The best part? Our story made the local news, and now other HOAs are using us as an example of what not to let happen. They're calling it the Ruler Lady Incident. I'm not even kidding. Even the police department is using Linda's case in their training about privacy violations and cyber stalking. Oh, and that violation notebook of hers? The police returned it after their investigation, and we ceremonially shredded it at our first ever neighborhood block party. Now that was therapeutic. If you guys have dealt with HOA members taking their power too far, drop your stories in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, after this incident, our HOA meetings are never boring anymore. Remember everyone, if you see someone crawling across your lawn at 6 a.m. with a ruler, start recording. Sometimes the craziest moments lead to the best changes. See you in the next video.